Hi everyone, I'm Nat. Welcome to Map This Dungeon, also known as Ink and Hatch, a space dedicated to guiding y'all on your creative journeys. There are no mistakes, only opportunities to learn and grow. Alright, well, let's get started. Today, we're going to be filling our art hearts with the magic of tarot cards. Whether you believe in their ability to tell the future and see into our true intentions, the tarot card has been a source of inspiration for artists to create their own versions of these mystical decks for a long time. Probably the most notable example is Salvador Dali's unique interpretation, or should I say surrealist interpretation, of these cards. Tarot cards do have a magic about them, though. Their abstract imagery makes our minds want to assign meaning, to define them. And each one with their abstract names, like the Empress and Five of Swords, they prompt us to start thinking of images that might start to give these names a little bit more body, a little bit more meaning. So tarot cards are a wonderful creative prompt to help us get drawing. And I'm going to show you an example of how to use them. Alright, so what you're going to need is a paper, a pencil, a pen, and whatever else you want to add to the mix. But the primary things are a piece of paper, pen, and pencil. I've cut mine to a 6-inch by 4-inch piece of paper, but you can use whatever variation of size you want. Tarot cards come in a multitude of sizes. And I should note, this video is sped up and I am recording over it as I'm talking right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with 4 corner dots just to get us started, introduce ourselves to the paper, and we're going to draw a little border connecting those dots. What I'm doing right now is I'm just drawing a bunch of doodle lines. So we're drawing the back of the back of the card, and I'm just doing a simple pattern. And what I've done is I've outlined everything in, kind of just a general sense of where I'm going, my little way stations in pencil. Pencil's really great for helping guide us in where we generally want to go. And then we can come in with our pen. So what I'm doing is I'm making a little gem centerpiece, and then I'm just kind of doing free form flowing with these kind of wavy lines here. I want to create kind of a repetitive pattern with maybe like a special centerpiece, which is the gem right in the middle. And I've made sure to draw behind. So this is kind of a way for me to get warmed up for my big picture that I'm going to be drawing for my main tarot card, my main image. So just like loosen up, make some wavy lines, make some random waves on the back of your card. And just, keep it going. And it's okay because every little wavy line you can draw in the little dots to make it look even more wavy. And right now what I'm doing is I'm providing a background kind of to break up those wavy lines that I've created and to give them a little bit more body by creating hatched lines. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a gradient with those hatched lines. So going from dark to light. And you'll see as I move from the top to the bottom, the space between my lines gets a lot wider. So this creates kind of a sense of shadow and a sense of depth. And as I go down, I'm making sure to kind of like revisit past kind of hatched lines to make sure that it looks okay. And I'm making sure that every once in a while, you can't really see in this piece, but I am taking a moment to step back from my piece, not get too close to it, if you will, not get too up close and personal with it. Make sure that I get some distance with it as I draw out these hatched lines, to make sure that I can really see the gradient, because nobody's gonna look at it super duper close when they're kind of, looking at it. They're going to be looking at it from, an arm's length, decent distance. So I'm making sure that it looks good. It's always good when you're drawing to make sure that you get some perspective from your piece, because every little part of your doodle interacts with everything else. The thing that I always remember when I started drawing is how close I'd get to like an eyeball and how much time I'd spend on that detail when you could never really see it when you actually looked at it from a reasonable distance. So right now with the gem, I'm blocking out the spots where I want there to be the most brilliant white. So with gemstones and semi-translucent things like water bubbles, you'll have this really dark edge, which I'm kind of blocking out right here with my pencil. And then you have the white spots where the light's hitting, which I've blocked out with my pen in kind of that teardrop shape. And then you have kind of a light gradient that goes from that brilliant highlight to kind of where it exits out, which is kind of a muddied, semi-gray kind of tone. And since I'm working with gray paper, kind of the tone is already set. So all I need to do is block out stuff with my white Jelly Roll pen, but it's fine if you're using white paper. This is just happened to be a scrap piece of paper that I had lying around. And right now I'm creating depth with my pencil. I've put my pen aside, and now I'm going to start to create a sense of depth. So what I'm doing is I'm blocking out some shadow. With my gemstone, I'm making sure to keep the pencil point, generally speaking, on the outside edge to make sure that it really pops and it really shows that it's sitting over top of these wavy lines. And now I'm also adding some depth and dimension to my wavy lines by giving them a little bit of shadow in kind of the spaces where they're dipping. And I'm making sure to apply this shadow towards the bottom to give it a sense of space, give it a sense of place in the piece. And I'm making sure to keep my pencil point towards the edge where I'm looking to get the most detail, because you can always see where the tip of your pencil is. You can't always see where the how far you've shaved up on the pencil. So that's just kind of my hot tip. I mean, sometimes I break those rules, as you can see, but generally speaking, I try to stay with the grain, or I try to make sure that I can see the pencil tip where I'm drawing. Now I'm adding even more depth and kind of a sense of more drama by adding little pencil marks to really bring out that dark black. So it's all about when you're shading a piece and when you're adding color maybe to this piece, which I highly encourage if you do want to add some color to this. I'm just going to stick with black, white, and shades of gray. It's always good to make sure that you balance that contrast. Make sure you have those highlights, those brilliant whites and bright colors. You have the blacks and you have your shades of gray. Because as I was mentioning earlier, drawings are like little ecosystems. Each one helps bring out the brilliance of the other. You need black in order to show how brilliant the whites are. You need white in order to show the darkness and the depth of the color black. And you need those shades of gray to kind of soften and bring out other accents and depth in the piece. And it's okay if a piece has a little bit of more than the other, but make sure to have at least a little bit of each element to make sure that it informs the other. I'm I'm just gonna finish by redrawing over some of these lines, and I'm pretty happy with that. It looks pretty good. And now I'm just kind of adding little teeny tiny highlights with my Jelly Roll pen, kind of showcasing that there are highlights on the top to kind of balance out that shade of gray and those blacks, those thicker lines that I was drawing. All right, and I'm pretty happy with that. Now we're going to be moving on to the front, and this is where we have a chance to get really creative. So we're going to be using the Wild Unknown Tarot Guidebook, and we're going to be using the Three of Swords as our inspiration. So the Three of Swords is kind of a dark card. It symbolizes betrayal, heartbreak, turmoil. A dark and complex card, the Three of Swords, is rarely a welcome sight. Its wrath may come in the form of lies, betrayal, cheating, or heartbreak. There will be emotional entanglement and confusion. Do not try to make any decisions while in this state. Wait for your heart and spirit to mend. And this was written by Kim Kranz. And I always love to pull out this book for inspiration when I'm doing pieces. So when I was initially conceiving this piece, and when I initially read the Three of Swords card, I actually my mind went to a little bit of a silly place. And I ended up thinking of the controversy of pineapple and pizza. I am not a fan of pineapple on pizza. So I kind of went in a silly direction. If you want to choose another card, or if you have some emotions that you have to work through, then the Three of Swords might be a good therapy card. But you can take these cards in a lot of different directions. I ended up going in a silly direction. You might end up going in a more serious direction. Or if there's another card you'd like to pull out of the deck and choose, feel free. All right, let's get started. So for this one, I'm going to start out with just a kind of a slight border, just an accent border. And I'm going to just outline everything in pencil. So where my lettering is gonna go, where my general pieces are gonna go, and then making the general shape of the pineapple. So pineapple is kind of an ovally egg shape. So right now I'm just blocking out the general spaces of where everything's gonna go. Is it gonna fit? Pencils are really great for blocking out areas because you can erase them later, and kind of setting your guidelines, and seeing how everything's going to eventually come together. You can noodle around and sketch, especially if you're using just very light lines with your pencil. And right now I'm just making sure that it's all going to fit, because I know that when I get my pineapple in here and then I get also my pizza in here, it's going to be kind of a tight fit in this area. And I might need to draw things just a little smaller, skew them to one side or the other. It's nice to divide spaces up into, especially if you have a grid, but it's nice to just kind of noodle around during the sketching phase, play around, because it can all be erased. It's just pencil. So it looks like things are a little bit tight. So I might move things over when I get to my pen phase, just a little bit. But I do want to make sure that everything's bursting out. So if you notice, I did draw a pizza impaled on a pineapple, generally because pineapple on pizza makes me feel like it just destroys pizza. But you may not think that way. No hate for those of you who do like your pineapple on pizza. So right now I'm just kind of making a simplified pineapple. I'm not trying to go for anything super duper realistic. That's the wonderful thing with tarot cards. If you go onto Pinterest and you just do a Pinterest search for various tarot cards, whether you're looking for a specific one for inspiration. It's really nice to see kind of the general imagery and symbolism involved. So for like the Three of Swords, for instance, there's always 3 swords or 3 things, 3 sharp objects, I guess you could say, in every iteration. But when you look at other things like the Empress card, there's generally a moon, some stars, kind of a crown shape. So there's a lot that you can just do with those abstract symbols. So now I'm also making sure I draw my little cheese kind of hanging off on my on my 3 pineapple leaves here. And of course, this is an exaggerated pineapple. Pineapples usually look a little bit different than this, but we're using our imagination and we're allowing ourselves a little bit of creative license for the sake of, humor and fun and whimsy. Now I'm just adding some of the detailing just to get my general shape. And I think I'm going to add just a little bit of an accent to kind of the simplified pineapple, the little barbs and spikes that usually appear. When I was looking at this, I was looking at different references of pineapples and how other people have drawn them or simplified them. And I'm generally just trying to get a little bit of extra character in my pineapple. So I wanted to draw a few of the barbs just to give it a little bit of extra something. I felt like something was missing when I was doodling it, and I just didn't want to leave them as simple diamond shapes. And now I'm just getting rid of some of my pencil marks, clearing that off so I have a nice space to work with. And I'm continuing my trend of kind of adding little accent marks. I'm adding a little bit more depth and a little bit more roundedness to the pineapple, because usually there are these little pieces in the pineapple that are kind of circular. It's divided up. So I just wanted to add a little bit more accents to it. And now I'm blocking out and making sure to pen in all of those other little pencil marks that I did before I really just erase all of my pencil marks underneath. And really wanting to make sure that the pineapple maybe bursts a little bit out of the card, so it kind of overlaps over that border that I created. And now I'm giving it a little bit of roundedness, a little bit more roundedness by adding a shadow. So I'm making sure to block out a section, make it look like it's rounded, like it has a little bit more depth. Making sure to add a little bit of shadow of the overshadowing pizza that is now impaled on these 3 leaves in my pineapple. Making sure to block out some of the darker areas of the pizza. So again, I'm just using black, white, and shades of gray for my piece, but you are more than welcome to, if you do decide to do a pineapple impaled on pizza, to add in some color. But I'm also using my pencil to create that color or create that illusion of color. Not necessarily depth, but also shadow and also a little bit of color. And I'm having fun with some of my pencil and shading marks because this is a fun piece. That's meant to be whimsical. And now I'm also taking it's a white charcoal pencil and adding in some highlights, but also kind of using it to add a little bit of color to the pizza. And I'm really adding in some depth there and making sure to add a little bounce shadow to the bottom. And there we go. We have our 3 of Swords. So great job, everybody. I hope that you had fun making this piece. So be sure to like and subscribe to this video. If you like more of my stuff, you can also find me on Twitch. I do lots of live streams based around comics and other drawing methods. So if you want to come hang out and ask me questions there. And also, I'm hoping soon to be opening up a Patreon so y'all can get some more tutorials and fun stuff in the future. So until next time, draw well, and remember there are no mistakes. So bye!